I believe what Romay is talking about is there was a separate Native American allocation that was issued last year that was not applied for, and that is an overall competitive grant program for the state of California. I have been successful previously with getting Native American grants, and so I know it is a very highly competitive process. There's no reason we shouldn't be competing with those on a regular basis. There was and the most difficult thing that you have in these grants is you have to have an agency, as Craig had said, with a proven track record in order to deal with CDBG, because they are have a lot of hoops and hurdles to go through. So I think the local CDC is the appropriate partner to work with, and we would encourage them for the tribe to work with them about submitting applications if we're successful with this money that we're asking for under a general allocation grant. In addition, last week we had a meeting of our City County Managers Association here locally, and we're going to be looking at ways that we can tie both the county and the 3 cities together in our application process. We did talk more about the sewer lateral issues overall for the cities as well as for the county, and some of the other housing issues. So we will be approaching CDC in a larger effort in the future about how we can maximize the dollars that were available, at least that we can apply for them.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Daniels. Additional speakers on public comment to this item? Okay. Seeing no one step forward, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board and staff. Any questions from the board in regards to this item to staff? Okay. So public comment is closed. What's the motion before us?
Mr. Chairman, I make the recommended motion.
Okay, recommended motion has been offered. Do I hear a second?
Second.
There is a second. Any discussion to the motion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay. So this item is passed unanimously. Again, thank you, Ms. Daniels. Okay, let's see. We're a little bit early for the 11 o'clock timed item. Let's see. Mr. CEO, do you have a report? We have about 10 minutes.
Yes, I do, and after that I'd suggest if we do have members of the grand jury here, if we could do item D.
Sure.
Relating to travel.
If you wish to defer your report, we can take that item up right now if you wish.
Sure, that would be terrific. Thank you.
Okay. Let's take up item 6D, introduction and waiving the reading of an ordinance amending Mendocino County Code, Chapter 2.14, fees and mileage for jurors and grand jurors, and Section 2.14.010, authorizing expense reimbursement for grand jurors. Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item is the result of discussions the CEO's office has had with members of the grand jury relating to travel from the coastal area over to Ukiah for meetings of the grand jury. There was concern expressed about severe weather and the fact that many times they do get out late from their business, and they were having to make the travel over the hill. So in discussions with the auditor's office and county council, it's our office's recommendation that we amend this ordinance 2.14.010 that relates and allows the grand jurors to conduct official business to stay overnight rather than drive back and forth and be reimbursed for actual cost incurred, not to exceed the local government hotel rate. And it's our recommendation that your board adopt that. And the grand jury foreman is here if you have any questions.
Questions to the issue before I go to public comment? Okay, I'll invite public comment on this issue. If the foreman would like to step forward, please.
Dennis Scholes, Redwood Valley. Yes, just to add my recommendation to this, one of the things that when we're having committee meetings and full panels and et cetera, we're very much run into, at times, scheduling meetings and with an eye on the weather. There's been meetings that had been canceled. There's been times when I've called coast jurors up and said, don't come. We're going to have a storm, and I don't want you on those roads coming over or going back. Especially in the snow, it sometimes we've had to cancel because Highway 20 even, let alone the other roads, were just impossible. And so we're asking for this consideration. The Superior Court of this county has made an extraordinary effort to make sure that the coast is represented by jurors, grand jurors. This sometimes is difficult for the coast and for the northern part of the county. Sometimes we have no representation on the grand jury from the north part of the county or from the coast because some of these inherent problems. So I'm asking you to consider this very seriously and recommend it. Thank you.
Supervisor Pinch's question?
I guess this is a question of the CEO's office. Under the fiscal impact, it says source of funding not applicable. It has to, I mean, there's certainly a cost to this. I mean, is this, why wasn't that?
That statement is because it's revenue neutral because we'll either be paying them the mileage or we'll be paying them for the hotel stay, one or the other. We do expect the grand jury to, like all county departments, to live within their budget as adopted by the Board of Supervisors. So for the remainder of the year, we would expect them to be on target with their budget. But this has no cost associated with it because it's an offset between those two items.
Okay, so it's neutral, but the wording not applicable, it kind of made me question there.
Correction noted. Thank you, Wolf.
Supervisor Delbar.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think what's being asked of us is consistent with the county's overall policies and absolutely reasonable, and I would have no problem at all supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Colfax.
To the CEO, there's an element in this about reimbursement for meal expenses at rates set for county employees. To my knowledge, as a supervisor, there is no policy with regard for meal expenses in Mendocino County. So I find that if that is going to be introduced as part of this, and I have other concerns, but given the rather what I would consider extreme concern on the part of the grand jury about the activities and expenditures of members of the Board of Supervisors over the last 2 or 3 years, I find it interesting to see that grand jurors shall also receive reimbursement for meal expenses. I don't know how much business of the grand jury is conducted outside of Mendocino County, but it seems a bit of a reach here, particularly in the sense here that that particular element here would certainly not be compensated by mileage. And the mileage issue here that was in place for the Board of Supervisors in the past certainly generated a great deal of excitement within the grand jury in the last few years. In a document called Are You Getting What You Pay For? I would recommend that the advocates for this particular plan here before us take a look at some of the rather intemperate comments made about the activities of at least some of the members